the day I found out who my real family was. My name is Holly Davidson, and I never imagined that my wedding would turn into the moment I realized who truly stood by me, and who never had. Ever since I was a little girl, I had dreamed of getting married in Venice. I used to look at pictures of gondolas floating under stone bridges and imagine myself in a white dress, saying, "I do," by the shimmering water. Venice was magic to me. So, when Jeff proposed after 2 wonderful years together, I didn't even hesitate. I knew where I wanted our wedding to be. And Jeff, being the kind and supportive man he is, didn't just agree, he was excited for it. Jeff was everything Brian wasn't. Brian was my college boyfriend, someone I once thought I'd marry, but he ended up in the arms of my younger sister, Samantha. Yes, you read that right, my sister, but we'll get to that later. Growing up, my parents always said they loved Samantha and me equally, but actions speak louder than words, and it was clear that Samantha was the favorite. She was 4 years younger than me, blonde hair, blue eyes, and a sweet face that could trick anyone, but behind that face was someone who always wanted what wasn't hers, and what wasn't hers was usually mine. As kids, she would cry to Mom about my toys. "Holly won't let me play with her Barbie dream house," she'd sob, even though she had her own, and Mom wouldn't even glance up from her magazine before saying, "Holly, share with your sister." It was always the same, whether it was my toys, clothes, or even the laptop I saved for with months of cafe shifts, Samantha somehow got her hands on it, with my parents' help. By high school, I had started hiding things from her. By college, I had distanced myself completely. The final straw was Brian. I brought him home for Thanksgiving, and Samantha, still in high school, immediately latched onto him. She flirted, laughed too hard at his jokes, and found ways to be near him all the time. When I told Mom, she said I was imagining things. I wasn't. Brian dumped me with the usual, "It's not you, it's me," and 3 days later, I saw them together at the mall, hand in hand. When I confronted Samantha, she just smiled and said, "He likes me better." They only dated for 2 months, but the damage she caused lasted years. After that, I stopped talking to her. I still spoke to my parents, but our relationship had changed. I kept them at arm's length, not because I wanted to, but because I had to. When it came time to plan the wedding, I wanted to believe things could be different. I decided to invite my parents and even offered to pay for their flights and hotel. "I want you both there," I said during a Sunday dinner. "I'll cover everything." They looked thrilled. "Venice, we've always wanted to go," Mom said. "That's so generous, Holly," Dad added. Then came the dreaded question. "What about Samantha?" Mom asked softly. "I'm not inviting her," I said firmly, "and you know why." They didn't argue. They just nodded and fell quiet. I thought that was the end of it. Mom told me not to worry about the details, just to send the money. "You have a wedding to plan," she said. "Let us handle the travel stuff." I sent them $5,000 the next day. Soon after, they texted me their hotel and flight information. Everything seemed in place. I was relieved. On my side, it would be my parents, Aunt Linda, Uncle Robert, and a couple of cousins. Jeff's side was full, his parents, grandmother, brother, and sister. I wanted everyone who mattered to be there. Jeff and I flew to Venice a week before the wedding. The city was just as magical as I'd always imagined. We finalized details, greeted early arriving guests, and soaked in the joy. But as the days passed, my parents still hadn't arrived. I called and texted, nothing. By the day before the wedding, I was in a panic. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. I finally got Mom on the phone the morning of the ceremony. "Mom, where are you?" I asked, my voice trembling. "You were supposed to be here days ago." "Oh, sweetheart," she said in a strangely upbeat tone, "we're so sorry, but Samantha is having her housewarming party today, her first apartment, you know, she needed our support." I stared at the phone in disbelief. "You chose her party over my wedding, the wedding I paid for you to attend?" "She's starting a new life, Holly, she needed us." "I'm starting a new life, too," I said, barely holding back tears. I asked about the money I had sent them. "We used it to help Samantha," she said. "We threw her a lovely party, got her a big TV, she really needed it, try to understand." I hung up, my hands shaking. Jeff found me sitting on the edge of our hotel bed, sobbing quietly. "They're not coming," I whispered. "They chose Samantha, again." But I pulled myself together. I had to. My wedding was still happening, and I wouldn't let them ruin it. My makeup artist worked magic. My dress flowed like a dream. My Uncle Robert walked me down the aisle. "You look stunning," he said, proudly offering his arm. The ceremony was perfect. Jeff cried when he saw me. I felt surrounded by love, not from my parents, but from those who had shown up. Jeff's family hugged me like their own. The reception overlooked the Grand Canal, and as I danced under the lights, I focused on joy. The next morning, I was scrolling through my phone at breakfast when I saw it. Samantha had posted photos from her party, the same time as our wedding. My parents were there, smiling, standing beside her as she posed in front of a huge TV. Her caption read, "Thanks to my amazing parents for making me feel like their favorite daughter. Love you both." My heart dropped. All the memories came rushing back. Not just Brian, not just the laptop, but the years of being second place in my own family. The lies, the favoritism, the betrayal. Jeff saw my face. "What is it?" I showed him the post. His jaw clenched. "That's cruel." My aunt and uncle looked too. "Your sister hasn't changed," Aunt Linda said. "Remember when she turned your friends against you in high school?" Uncle Robert added, "Or when she got your laptop by lying about needing it for school?" I nodded. I remember everything. I stepped out onto the balcony, looking at the calm waters. Gondolas passed by, couples laughed, and life went on, while I stood there, heartbroken but oddly calm. I had lost something, yes, but I had gained clarity. Jeff joined me and wrapped his arms around me. "I have an idea," he said gently. "Let's extend the trip. A yacht around the Mediterranean. Just us and the people who actually showed up. My parents are in. What do you think?" I smiled for the first time that morning. "I think that sounds perfect." Back inside, we shared the idea with everyone. They were thrilled, and as I looked around at these people, Jeff, his loving family, my loyal aunt and uncle, I finally understood. Blood doesn't always mean family, loyalty does. And that day, in the city I'd always dreamed of, I married not just the love of my life, but also stepped into a new chapter surrounded by my real family. When my aunt and uncle heard about the idea, their eyes lit up. "A 2-week European yacht trip, count us in," Uncle Robert exclaimed. Everyone was excited, voices overlapping as we talked about ports and places we'd see. But in the middle of all that joy, I had another idea. Quietly, I took out my phone and opened Instagram. "What are you doing?" Jeff asked, leaning over. "Just teaching my parents a little lesson," I said, typing fast. I uploaded a photo from our wedding, a happy, smiling group shot of Jeff, me, his family, my aunt and uncle, and our cousins, all raising glasses of champagne and laughing. I added a caption, extending the celebration, sailing off on a 2-week European yacht trip with our favorite people. These are the future rulers of the sea. We set sail in 3 days. I hit post and sat back, a quiet satisfaction spreading through me. I knew my parents would see it. I also knew they wouldn't be able to resist. Sure enough, 30 minutes later, my phone rang. My mom's name popped up on the screen. I answered, trying not to laugh. "Hi, Holly," she said breathlessly. "I just saw your post. That yacht trip looks amazing." Not a word about missing my wedding, no apology, no guilt, just straight to what she wanted. "Yeah, it's going to be great," I said flatly. "Well, your father and I were just talking. We don't want you going without us. We're flying to Venice. We'll be there in a couple days." I stared at the wall in disbelief. The audacity. "Really?" I asked. "Where's the money for that coming from? I thought you couldn't afford to travel. I mean, you spent the $5,000 I gave you for wedding travel on Samantha's new TV and her housewarming party, right?" There was a long pause. "We'll find the money for this trip, Holly. This is important. You'll wait for us, right?" "The yacht leaves in 3 days," I said. "Perfect," she replied. "We'll be there in 2. I'll text you once we book our tickets." I ended the call and told everyone in our suite what had just happened. Jeff's mom shook her head. "The nerve," she muttered. "What are you going to do?" my cousin Megan asked. I smiled. "We're leaving tomorrow morning, not in 3 days like I posted. Let's see how fast they scramble." Everyone agreed. The next day, we arranged with the yacht company to depart early. Meanwhile, texts from Mom kept coming. "Just booked our tickets. Be in Venice the day after tomorrow. In the taxi to the airport now. So excited." At the airport, boarding soon. While she sent updates, we were already on board, sailing away under the Mediterranean sun. Then came the final text. "We're in Venice. Where are you? We can't find you or anyone at the hotel." I was ready. I had written and edited this message until it was perfect. Now, I sent it. "Mom and Dad, let's be clear. You treated me terribly. You took the money I gave you for my wedding and spent it on Samantha. You lied about coming. You didn't show up. You chose her over me. So now, you can ask her for help. You're no longer my family. Please don't contact me again." After sending it, I turned my phone off. I didn't want to hear their excuses. I wanted to enjoy my time with the people who had shown up for me. The yacht was modest but beautiful, just right for our group of 12. There was a small crew, a captain, a chef, and 2 deckhands, who made sure everything ran smoothly. The cabins were cozy, but we spent most of our time up on deck, feeling the wind and soaking in the sea views. Our first stop was Croatia. We explored Dubrovnik, walking through the ancient streets and enjoying dinner at a little restaurant by the water. That night, I turned my phone back on, 15 missed calls, over 20 messages. The texts were full of guilt trips. "How could you do this to us? You left us stranded in Venice." I turned to Jeff's mom. "They're already playing the victims," I said. She squeezed my hand. "Let them, we know the truth." We continued along the Croatian coast, stopping at quiet islands and charming ports. With each stop, I felt the tight knot of anger and sadness begin to ease. By the time we reached Greece, I could laugh again, really laugh. In Santorini, we sat watching the sun set, the sea glowing gold and orange. Uncle Robert raised his glass. "To new beginnings and the family we choose," he said. "To the people who actually show up," Aunt Linda added. "To Holly and Jeff," Jeff's grandmother said, beaming. As our glasses clinked, I felt more loved than I ever had with my parents and Samantha. A few days later, we docked in Italy. My cousin Megan pulled me aside. "Just got a call from my mom back home. Your parents, total gossip disaster. They maxed out their credit cards trying to get home from Venice. And guess what? Samantha wouldn't help them." I laughed. "She said it wasn't her problem." "Exactly, after everything they did for her." That night, as we sailed toward our next stop, I stood on the deck alone, watching the waves. Jeff joined me, wrapping a blanket around my shoulders. "Thinking about your parents?" he asked. "Thinking about what family should be," I said. "Unconditional, supportive, safe, but it never was with them." He nodded. "Family should be a harbor, not a storm." I leaned into him. "I found mine, with you, with all of them." 2 magical weeks passed. We visited the French Riviera, explored little towns, and ended in Barcelona. Then it was time to go home. Back in our apartment, a wedding gift from Jeff's parents, I started settling into married life. One morning, my phone rang. It was Aunt Linda. "Just spoke to Aunt Carol," she said. "Your parents are blaming you for everything, telling everyone you abandoned them in Europe after they sacrificed so much for you." I rolled my eyes. "Of course they are. And there's more," she said. "They told Samantha they couldn't afford her apartment anymore. She had to move back in with them." I blinked, then burst out laughing. "She's living with them now?" "Yep, took over the house. Won't clean, won't cook, total disaster." Jeff laughed when I told him. Karma finally caught up. A few weeks later, just when I'd stopped thinking about them, my phone rang again. "Samantha." I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "Holly," she said, "we need to talk. Mom and Dad are awful. They cut me off. I'm stuck living with them and it's a nightmare." "Sounds like your problem," I replied. "We're sisters," she said. "I need money to get out of their house and into my own place, just until I find a job." I couldn't believe her nerve. "Let me get this straight," I said. "You helped them ditch my wedding. You gloated about your new TV. You didn't help them in Venice, and now you want me to help you?" "That's ancient history," she said. I snapped. "No, you've always tried to take what's mine, my toys, clothes, friends, even my boyfriend. You made your choice, now live with it." We argued, worse than ever before. She called me cruel, I called her manipulative. Finally, I hung up, shaking with anger, but also free. Jeff came and sat next to me. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said, staring out the window. "I think I'm finally done with all of them." And I was. Done with guilt, Done with begging for love, done with chasing people who never cared enough. Now, I had everything I needed: a husband who loved me, a family who supported me, and a life that finally felt like mine. The storm was over, and I was sailing forward, stronger, clearer, and free.